Hello and welcome to The Point. I'm Marcel Wieder, coming to you from our studio in downtown Toronto. How prepared are you for retirement? On this edition of The Point, we'll talk to Ontario's Associate Finance Minister Mitzie Hunter about the Ontario Retirement Pension Plan. And Canada's largest landlord, the Toronto Community Housing Corporation, has faced controversies and challenges. We'll chat with City of Toronto Councillor Ana Bailao, who is the city's affordable housing advocate, on what lies ahead for the embattled organization. All that and more on this edition of The Point. Social housing has always been a hot-button issue in this city. Toronto Community Housing is the largest social housing provider in Canada and the second largest in North America. It provides homes to about 60,000 low and moderate income households, including seniors, families, singles, refugees, recent immigrants to Canada, and people with special needs. However, TCHC has had a checkered history. From falling walls to a billion-dollar backlog in repairs to allegations of corruption, TCHC has made headlines, but not necessarily for the right reasons. Councillor Ana Bailao sits on the board of the Toronto Community Housing Corporation and is the city's affordable housing advocate. She's here for more on this. Councillor Bailao, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Toronto Community Housing is responsible for about 60,000 tenants and has a backlog of close to 100,000 on a waiting list. How is it responding to the needs of Torontonians?
Well, it's a huge challenge. It's not only a Toronto community housing challenge, it's an affordable housing challenge that the City of Toronto is facing. And we need to rely on the TCHC, we need to rely on other nonprofit housing providers, and rely on the private sector to help us get this challenge back on track, if we may say. With TCHC, there's a huge issue with the backlog. We have over 2,000 buildings. We have over almost 60,000 units, and there's a backlog of repairs of $2.6 billion. The City of Toronto has committed $864 million. Which is 1/3, and we've asked the province and the feds, because this was something that was downloaded from the province and the feds without any capital reserves. So unlike many of the buildings in our city or our condominiums that have a capital reserve aside, so when your roof needs replacement, anything, you go there and you replace it, we have all these buildings that were downloaded to the city and say, here you go, you now deal with this issue. And most of them were built in the 50s and the 60s, and like any other property in the City of Toronto, needs repairs.
In fact, there was a poll just released by Forum, I believe yesterday, that put housing as the #1 issue that City Council should be addressing, ahead of transit and other things.
I'm happy to see that, because I was also chair of the Affordable Housing Committee last term, and it's a big difference when you have a mayor that is actually bringing the issue to the front and actually saying, no, this is something that we need to work, that we need our partners at the table, and it's a major issue that needs to be addressed, and actually working towards solutions. We've had meeting with developers. We're just now in April about to release, the mayor and I, a request to have a toolkit prepared to work with private and nonprofit organizations to motivate them to build more affordable housing. We want to unlock public land, and we're looking into different ways to do that, our public land for affordable housing.
So let me just stop you there, because one of the success stories, and there's unfortunately there hasn't been enough of these at TCHC, is the redevelopment of Regent Park, and now you're going to take that learning experience to Lawrence Heights
and Alexander Park.
And
250 Davenport?
Okay, I don't have all of them, but I know from the Regent Park and Lawrence Heights. I live not far from Lawrence Heights, so I know that development.
I just wanted to show that TCHC has definitely a lot of issues, and that's why we've been talking about it. The City of Toronto launched the campaign 2 years ago, Close the Housing Gap campaign, and we've been trying hard to talk about these issues. But like you said, it also has a lot of success stories, and Regent Park is definitely a success story, and Lawrence Heights and Alexander Park, and we need to do more and more and more of that. But we also need to see and look at all the other land that we have in the City of Toronto and say, you know, if a land is surplus land and we're going to put it out to the private market, should we have a percentage of that as affordable housing? And that's what we're going to be moving towards, is that as we are making land available, we need to make it available with an affordable housing component, because that is a major issue for the city. The mayor has clearly indicated that, so it's reassuring to be given the marching orders to get it done.
Well, talk about marching orders. One of the things that we discussed before we started the interview was that there's a review of TCHC taking place right now, and that may make some recommendations. The current executive director position is vacant, and there may be some structural changes. Any suggestions or ideas what direction that's going to head?
I mean, I am working very closely with the task force, but I want to leave it open to whatever recommendations they see fit and they see appropriate. I don't want to prejudge. There's going to be an interim report in July and then final report in December. So they're looking at the governance and also ways to develop and bring more cash into the fold of TCHC. So we don't want to prejudge anything. We want them to do their work. I think they're working very hard. The task force is working really hard, and we're just saying we're open to see what's going to come out of there. And that's why the search for the new president really didn't make much sense to continue, since we had this review going on. And again, we don't want to have or give them any constraints on their work. Allow them to do the work whatever way they want, and give the recommendations that they see that there's going to have an impact on the lives of residents. And that was the main thing that we told them, is the main thing is, how are we going to serve these residents better? So
there are ways that people can contact the task force to share their perspectives and information?
Yes, there's public meetings on April 27th as well. The chair of the task force, Senator Art Eglinton, is also coming to the Affordable Housing Committee, the committee I chair, to actually do a presentation, which is also public as well, and is going to be answering a lot of questions from councillors, not only the councillors in the committee, but we're opening it to any other councillors that would like to give us their feedback and information as well, and to the public to listen in. And they can send information to via email, through the workshops that are being done, and reach out to the task force directly through the website. The Close the Housing Gap campaign, which is an initiative by TCHC and Toronto Community Housing that has been going on for 2 years, and calling on the federal and provincial government for funding on housing, is having actually a rally. Because one thing that for the last 3 years we've been made sure that this conversation always had tenants and residents at the center of the conversation and involve them in the conversation. So this rally is for people to share their ideas, to share their comments, to come and learn how to get more involved in housing. We have a federal election coming up as well. We want to make sure this is a major issue. We're seeing that people believe that this is a major issue in the City of Toronto, so we want to make sure that we involve the residents. And on April 28th at 7 o'clock at the Council Chambers at City Hall, hopefully lots of residents from the City of Toronto, advocates from the affordable housing sector, people in the private sector, developers. We need the private sector also to come to the table, and a lot of them have started to come to the table to tackle this issue. So we're hoping to get our minds and hearts together to take this message to our other levels of government and to City Hall. I think it's always important to have the other 44, to have other 43, and the mayor listen the strong message from the residents of Toronto that housing is an important issue, and that we continue to invest in housing as the City of Toronto, and advocate for our other two partners to invest in housing.
Thank you so much, Councillor. We covered a lot of territory. Hope you'll be able to join us again and give us an update after the rally and the report. I was joined by City of Toronto Councillor Ana Bailao, who is on the Toronto Community Housing Corporation's board. Up next, are we saving enough for retirement? We're joined by Ontario's Associate Finance Minister Mitzie Hunter to discuss the new Ontario Retirement Pension Plan. People in Ontario are saving less today than they were 30 years ago. In 2013, Ontarians put less than 5% of their income into savings. Projections show that when they reach retirement age, they will not be able to maintain their current standard of living. The Ontario Liberal Party says the Canadian Pension Plan is not enough to meet the needs of retirees in the province. And Premier Wynne says she has a solution. The Ontario Retirement Pension Plan would expand income for millions of workers and help bolster middle-income earners. Here to explain more is Ontario's Associate Finance Minister Mitzie Hunter, member for Scarborough-Guildwood. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Marcel.
Madam Minister, you have a lot of responsibilities with the Ontario Retirement Pension Plan. Can you please give us a sense of what this bill is designed to do and how important it is for Ontarians?
Well, certainly. One of the things I want to be clear about is that when we talk about pensions, we're really talking about the future. And we're talking about putting away a little bit today so that in the future you have that purchasing power and you're able to continue to spend and continue to consume. And what we know is that that's really changing here in Ontario. And first of all, I want to say that, you know, we live in a province that has a very strong education system. We have a diverse population. We have one of the strongest economies anywhere. But we have some challenges. And when we look out on the horizon, we're really seeing that people are not saving enough for their retirement. And there are many factors that are contributing to that. What we have really moved forward with is a pension plan that will be there for the people of Ontario to provide a strong savings floor so that they can continue to spend and to consume in their retirement.
So give us a broad outline of how you see this pension plan working.
Well, the ORPP, the Ontario Retirement Pension Plan, will come into effect in January of 2017, and it will be a plan that is based on contributions from employers as well as employees, capped at 1.9% each, and those funds will be invested for the benefit of the members of the plan. So it'll be a fully funded plan based on people's time in the plan and the contributions that they make. And what is important is that they will have that retirement income when they retire, and we know that is it's a growing need in this province. 2/3 of people actually have no workplace pension plan to speak of at work, so pension coverage is very low. When you look at the private sector, it's at 28%. So really, the need is there. We also know that people aren't saving on their own through voluntary means. You know. RSPs and other mechanisms, people really are not putting away, and that doesn't mean that retirement is not coming. So we have to ensure that we're ready for that retirement when it eventually comes, because if people retire without adequate income, that potentially could slow down consumption, which has not a great effect on our economy and on business and on that individual's quality of life as well. So we believe that people, when they retire, should have that dignity in retirement.
Well, one of the things that we're seeing is that a number of retirees are starting to slip below the poverty line, and that puts added stress on social services and being able to ensure that they have what they need. Because people are also living longer, you know, they don't have the money that will last them all the way through their retirement.
Well, you're talking about something that's very important, and that's the intergenerational changes that we're seeing, and we really need to ensure that you know, younger people are savings, because you know, the system of work is very different today than in our parents or even grandparents' generation. So we need to ensure that that there will be a system in place for young people when they eventually do retire. It's the 21st century that we live in, and we need a retirement system that really reflects those realities, such as labor mobility. People often move around and change jobs. We want to have a plan that is portable and that moves with them, and that they're able to save over a lifetime of. We have a good system with CPP. It's efficient. It was certainly served us well as Canadians. The challenge with CPP is that it's not enough. The average in Ontario is $6,800, and we know the maximum amount allowable is $12,500. And we know that people just simply cannot make ends meet with that. It's not adequate, particularly after a lifetime of work. So what we're looking to do is, in the absence of the expansion of CPP, which we know the federal government has said no to, despite the fact that all of the provinces and territories had agreed to work on a CPP expansion model, and Ontario has long since advocated for that with our Premier and Finance Minister, really leading that national conversation on the need to boost retirement income. So with the absence of that federal leadership, we really believe that Ontario needs to prepare for that retirement that's coming. As you mentioned, the population is aging. We'll have twice as many seniors in the very near future than we do today. We're going to, in fact, have less active workers than we do today at a time when we have a growing population of seniors. So we really need to ensure that people have adequacy in retirement.
So you raised the Premier. The Premier in 2014 in the lead up to the provincial election raised the issue with the Prime Minister and tried to encourage him to get on board in terms of moving the CPP upwards. It's a established plan, has all the necessary ingredients there, and it's actually properly funded at this point. Why hasn't the federal government increased the CPP if, as you say, the provinces and territories were on board?
Well, it's a difference in approach, and I believe the federal government expects that people are going to save through voluntary means.
Things like the TFSA?
TFSA or other types of voluntary tools. But when we look at the evidence and we look at the data, it's really telling us that people are not saving through those voluntary means that are available to them today. And I agree that we need to have greater financial literacy, and that's part of the work that we are doing right across, starting in the education system and right through. At the same time, we know that the Canada Pension Plan is an efficient, effective vehicle. It's fully portable and mobile right across the country. And what we're saying is that it's not adequate, that it really needs to provide greater benefit to people in retirement, and that's the expansion that we've been asking for. Our Premier has been leading that national debate. There was a study that was done just last year that really looked at Canadians' opinions on this, and 74% of Canadians believe that retirement benefits needs to be increased, and that number goes to 77% in Ontario. So people recognize and understand that there needs to be greater supports for retirement benefits.
Now you raised an interesting point just a few moments ago, and that has to do with the fact that today we're seeing more people taking on different jobs throughout their career, unlike our parents' generation or the generation before, where it was either one or two jobs in a career. Today, you could be in 4 or 5 or more different jobs throughout your career. And some of those jobs are, in terms of consultants or independent work where you're not covered by a company pension, where you're not getting any company benefits. Are those people going to be covered through the ORPP?
Well, I absolutely agree with you. I think the workforce of today has increasingly become more mobile. I think I'm on my 6th job, if I'm any example of that, and I think in the future it's going to be even more so. So we have to ensure that people can save across whichever workplaces that they happen to be in, and that when they retire, they have that continuous stream of income into retirement. So that's how we're designing the ORPP, keeping that in mind to ensure that that this plan will respond to the needs of that changing and mobile workforce, and that young people, people entering the labor market, will have an opportunity to save for retirement, regardless of the career in which they choose. And the details of the plan design are still being worked out. I've done consultations, in fact, right across many communities in the province, and really getting input from a range of individuals and businesses, community organizations, to ensure that we get this plan right and that it is really there serving the needs of the people.
Now, some critics of the plan have said that the 1.9% contribution by employers is really a tax that they're paying on it. Can you elaborate on that?
Well, a pension is not a tax. A pension is part of people's deferred compensation. It's based on the contributions that they've made, matched by their employers, and it's there for them when they retire, for their golden years, when they're going to need that income coming in. So that's really important. We do understand the needs of business and the fact that businesses need to prepare for the ORPP, and that's something that we are communicating with business and with employees. We're actually introducing the ORPP in 2017, coinciding with the reduction in EI premiums as well. So we are taking into consideration the needs of business. We, of course, want to work with the federal government in terms of the administration and making sure there's ease of administration and how we communicate the plan across the businesses that will be enrolled.
Now, Quebec has its own pension plan. It's different from the CPP, but are there any other provincial governments that are looking at modeling something along the lines of the ORPP or joining with Ontario in a parallel pension program?
Well, that's something that we're keeping in mind, certainly. And we have a technical advisory group on retirement income security that makes the information available across all provinces as we're developing and implementing the ORPP. So we are keeping our provincial counterparts informed, and I've certainly met with my counterparts in other provinces to share this information. We have some that have expressed direct interest, like Manitoba and others, that really are quite interested in what we are doing. What's important is that as Ontario takes this leadership, that we share this information, that we make it widely available to the other provinces as well.
So the Ontario budget will be coming out shortly, and are we going to see any aspect of the ORPP in that budget?
Well, we know that boosting retirement income security is one of the key priorities of our government, and ensuring that we implement the ORPP within the 2 years that we have been given. So we're very focused on that, and I'm sure that there will be information that is available in terms of our progress, and we're going to make sure that we keep people informed as we develop the details of the ORPP and at each stage as we move forward.
Minister, thank you very much for joining us today. I'm joined by Associate Finance Minister Mitzie Hunter from the riding of Scarborough-Guildwood. We'll be back with The Point. It's tax time, and the filing deadline is just around the corner. Besides figuring out what we owe government, it's an opportunity to figure out where we stand with respect to our retirement. Experts are warning Ontarians that we need to save more for our retirement. However, studies have shown that it is getting more difficult for families to save. Traditionally, workers have contributed to the Canadian Pension Plan, the CPP. This plus any RRSP or pension program was usually enough to get by in the golden years. But soon it will not be enough. The CPP, although financially sound, pays out roughly $12,000 annually at the top end, hardly enough to survive on. Enter Premier Wynne. She has made establishing an Ontario pension plan a key election commitment that she wants to fulfill. Together, the CPP and ORPP would pay out approximately $25,000 annually at the top, indexed to inflation. It is unacceptable that the federal government continues to avoid its responsibility to make changes necessary so that we maintain a national program. Having Ontario and other provinces establish their own pension program is counterproductive, but with no alternative, they have no choice. For years, Ontarians have relied on a decent pension to help them manage through their retirement. If the federal government is not prepared to address the issues, then the provinces will need to provide the leadership necessary. And that's the point. That's all for this edition of The Point. Follow us on Twitter at Watch The Point, like us on Facebook, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you for watching.